Welcome back to the pod of many things. It's your boy Addison, the friendly furbog wizard, and Leon, the half-orc bard officer, for the 10th time. Now, this is episode 10, the 11th recording. This week and next week are so busy for us on the podcast, but...
Yeah, 2 recordings this week, 3 next week. But then after that, we can take a couple of weeks off, which is great.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm all right. It's just a bit draining, isn't it? How are you finding it?
Yeah, not too bad. This whole thing has been quite a learning process, and learning how to edit, learning the ins and outs of how podcasts work and how to publish them, where to publish them, most importantly, learning how to use the software. It's been a learning process, but I think we've finally got fully into the groove. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to motivate when you know how much editing you have to do, but just coming into the booth and speaking with some fantastic people and having some fantastic conversations just really does make up for it.
Yeah, I agree. Like the things we've learned, like I'm getting back into drawing and all sorts. It's just a lot of fun. It does get a lot though, because sometimes I can't switch off. Like sometimes what can I do to get the podcast like out there? Like who can we invite on next? What are the sorts of topics I want to cover? Because it's a real passion project, Like I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not just sitting down and talking to people. There's the talking to people is like 10% of the work. The 90% is behind the scenes.
Yeah, we walked into something, but yeah. Enough about us/me moaning that things are picking up, because things are picking up and it's fun, and you know what, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really grateful to everybody who listens. But Leon, we have a guest, one of your good friends.
We do indeed.
Let's get him in. Let's get him involved. Let's do
the
introduction.
So joining us for our milestone 10th episode, fade down the music. Little bit of silence. Build the tension. His LARP friends know him as Grim. His D&D friends know him as Pocket. He is the one, the only, David Poole!
Thank you very much. Wonderful intro.
Excellent to have you here, Dave. I'm so happy to finally have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
We've got some D&D war stories, haven't we?
We certainly have. I'd also like to say, though, it's great to be on. I have been a listener since day one, and I have thoroughly enjoyed every single episode.
I appreciate that.
I really do appreciate that.
So I've never really met you before, Dave. So I need to find out as much as I can about you, so we can play the Avatar game and we can get through this, because this is actually quite a personal topic. I've realised as I've thought about it, like how we get into character and stuff. So how about we have a bit of a history lesson on Dave. Who is Dave? Can you tell us a bit about your background in like tabletop RPG and LARP? Because Leon mentioned LARP, and that's quite interesting.
Well, I mean, Dave started when one of my brother's friends. My brother's 3 years older than me, so his friend was a year older than that, and he came round with this red box, and it had a picture of a dragon on the front, and he kind of just put it on the table and went, "Let's play this game." And I went, "All right then." I like most younger brothers, I was trying to be cool and go, I can mix with my brother's friends. My brother didn't get into it at all. Me and Mike, the guy that bought the box, absolutely loved it. And
first edition, isn't it? The red box with the dragon on the front, yeah.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got this box, and how old are you now? I think the listeners need to know.
I was 10 then, roughly, and I'm 45 now, so 35 years ago.
20, yeah, that's some pedigree. That is some serious pedigree.
And I mean, what you've also got to remember is though that the red box came out really, really early in America. Came out a lot later here. And we didn't have the internet. So it was word of mouth, and I have no idea how Mike found this gem of a game, but literally just walked in one night and went, let's play this. And I was like, okay. And I was sold from day one.
The thing is, I remember I must have been about, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. And I remember like going through the cupboard at my mum's house way back when and finding that very same red box. And on the front it says how it's a game. And I just remember the sheer disappointment of opening it up and finding paper and a pencil and a dice. I'm thinking, what the fuck is this game? This isn't a game.
Yeah.
Oh, how wrong I was. How wrong I was. How different my life would be if I just read the instructions and picked up that pencil and dice. Anyway, we're talking about you, not me.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair, because it's kind of like, I didn't realise, I've always been terrible at math. But even I didn't realise that at the time it was teaching me math. It's like, roll a d20, right? Add 5, right? And even if you're counting on your fingers, you're like, but you were doing maths. And I mean, it's something that the gaming community has picked up on now, much more than we even realised then.
Yeah, no, we one of the reasons I do it at the school is as like a tool to aid with things like maths and like English and spoken word stuff and everything. So yeah, and now a lot of games have started doing that, haven't they? Started incorporating those sort of like puzzle elements and to go over these skills. So I can imagine. I always
Where
feel
did you
really,
go from there? Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, I always feel like really underdeveloped now. Like all the guests we've had on recently are like, "Yo, I've been here since day one," and then I like walk in like, "Oh yeah, I kind of started at third," and everyone's like, "Amateur," but yeah, no.
Yeah, we're probably like the youngest D&D players amongst all our guests, and I mean youngest as in the least experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, and this goes back into my story of D&D, it was like I then discovered LARP, and I've been a LARPer for over 25 years. I'm gonna roughly say about 27 years.
Oh, hang on. For the listeners that don't know, what is LARP?
Live action roleplay. It is D&D, but you live your character. Instead of for 3 hours, you live your character from 10 in the morning to 2 in the morning for 3 days, basically.
On the table, you have a field with tents and forests. There's usually
Spaghetti noodles, aren't they? Usually spaghetti noodles, the things that you have in swimming pool.
When I started, there was a lot of pot noodle, because the easiest thing to do was boil a kettle so you could eat. LARP these days, there are people who specialize in actually arriving, and they set up a tent, and it's like a takeaway.
Oh wow!
It's like McDonald's, really.
McDonald's.
So do they do this in character? Do they role play their entire stall, but actually like make a little bit of coin as well, real life coin?
Oh yeah. I mean the money that's
awesome.
exchanged. The money that's exchanged is real life money.
But it's all in character.
But the food that's exchanged is real food. So,
okay.
So you walk in and you order chips and beans. Right? Out of character, you just need to eat. In character, the person goes, "What do you want, my love?"
That's pretty cool. So you get to.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
So you get to like basically play the world's most extreme version of D&D. Like you've emerged from the basement and now you're in the forests running around in cloaks with swords and stuff. That sounds pretty cool.
Pretty much, and you're in a field with about 800 to 1,000 people that go, yeah, this is my hobby too.
That's awesome. This year actually would have been my first time playing LARP, because Alex has been trying to get me into it for the past couple of years. But obviously COVID happened and all of the LARP stuff was cancelled. So hopefully next year I can get in on that.
Yeah, because this was going to be the first time that we'd ever met.
Yeah, in person.
In person, yeah.
You're like one of the few people from the online group I actually need to meet in person. It's just you and Rosemary left to go.
The only experience I have with LARP is that time we went to Beam Gaming, Leon.
Oh yeah, I know they were having a LARP party upstairs, weren't they?
There was a LARP party upstairs, so our food was like an hour late. I was like, damn LARPers.
So your only experience of LARP is a negative one.
No, I can imagine like that it could be quite fun. Like I like Dungeons and Dragons, and I like cosplay. Like I like cosplay done correctly, not just like hot girls in wigs.
Next year we'll do it. Next year.
Yeah.
I mean, LARP generally, if you go to the right ones, it is basically everything you just said. It's D&D and LARP. It's D&D and cosplay. But done right. Amazing.
So
Addison, do you think you have enough information on Dave to assign his character?
I think I can do it, because I'm imagining Dave in the forest, surviving in his tent. So I'm actually going for a first, because for the first time we've not got a bard on. I'm saying ranger.
Okay.
Ranger, like going out surviving, because obviously you have battles and stuff in LARP and everything, and it's quite a hardy tradition, and I feel as if like it's something you have to like prep for, and I feel as if rangers do that quite a bit. In terms of race, this is a hard one. I'm thinking I'm feeling either human, because of like the fact that you can adapt, and with the topic of today's thing of like adapting and adaptability, and that's humans like selling point in D&D, is that they're the adaptable race. They've not got eons of tradition, and they're very how can I put it, they're very different on a very scale, whereas high elves are high elves and there's not much difference, whereas there's loads of different humans. So I think I would say human ranger. I'm going human ranger for Dave. He's your friend though, Leon. Do you agree, disagree? And then we'll get Dave's perspective.
Regardless of what Dave has ever done in LARP, regardless of what Dave has ever done in any D&D games apart from the ones we have played with each other, to me, Dave will always be the halfling rogue known as Pocket. So that's what I'm going with.
Fair enough. Do you feel as so? I'm a Furbolg wizard. Leon's our half orc bard and artificer. These are like our avatars. Would you agree with our assessments of you and your like character, or do you think that there's something else that matches you a bit better?
I honestly, I think that if we're talking D&D, then Leon is pretty much bang on. If we're talking LARP, Anderson, I think you're bang on.
Oh yes, win-win.
So we'll multi-class you, and we'll put you as a halfling rogue ranger, which is a pretty good multi-class. Not gonna lie, that's pretty sick.
The
Roger, yeah. So we've got Dave, our halfling rogue ranger, and with that we can now look into today's topic, which I'm really excited to talk to you about now that I know about your LARP background. Because today's episode, we're going to be talking about getting into character. We've talked about preparing as players, but we've not talked about getting into character, sitting at that table and not just being you, pretending to be someone, but almost like embodying the character that you've created, how you can role play better, how you can make it easier for people to role play off you. So it is a bit different. So my first question to you, Dave, and Leon, I'd actually like you to do this as well, because obviously we as DMs deal with NPCs all the time. What does it really mean to get into character? What is getting into character? Is it just putting on a funny voice? Is it just wearing some sort of item of clothing like some people do? What would you personally describe as getting into character? We'll start with Dave.
Well, it's slightly different if you're talking about LARP. Then sometimes it's just putting on a hat or putting on a coat or buying a new weapon. If it's D&D, what I like to do is, if it's a pre-existing character, I like to read through my character sheet at least a couple of days before we play. I've always gone back, looked at it, gone stat what my abilities are, and then work from there. If it's a character with an accent, and for whatever reason, Leon's always loved my characters when they have accent, and has kind of goaded me into making sure that they have an accent a lot of the time.
Fantastic New Zealand accent.
You mean? But if you're going with an accent, it's a key word. So it could be anything, but it's like a trigger word. But if it's a LARP character, for me, it was always an item of clothing. Grim, the character that I played, wore a tricon hat. And I always made sure it was the last thing I packed. It could be the first thing I grabbed, but it would always be the last thing I packed, because it was the first thing I took out of my bag when I got there.
And a tricorn is something that's going to make you stand out. It's going to be a real focal point to a character, isn't it? You know, you think of like Revolutionary War times, you think of the bicorns and the tricorns that everybody's wearing. So yeah, I imagine that would be a standout piece, and you'd probably build your character around that.
Yeah, like a defining trait.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Grim was probably the greatest character I ever played at LARP, and he was a throwaway character.
They all start off as throwaway characters until you get too attached.
He wasn't supposed to be anything more than, I died halfway through the Saturday, and so I played him half of Saturday and then Sunday, and it became a character that I played for about 7 years.
Those are always the best ones, I find. You know, you just make up a character on the spot, and then you just
They are.
run away with it, and you know, you put a load of yourself into it, and you just become so attached to it. Those are always the best ones.
Yeah, like you almost get. Yeah, it's almost like they develop with. The character develops with your understanding of them, so you like kind of grow into them. I've always liked that sort of thing.
Yeah, the amount of times I've like overthought a character before starting a game, and then you get to the game and it's like, you know, I'm not actually enjoying role playing this.
Yeah. What about
It's
you?
happened to me
Leon?
many times. What for me? Okay, if I'm playing a character, so player hat on. The way I do it, I really like to lean into the personality traits, the bonds, the flaws. That's what I'll base my character on. Sometimes I'll randomly roll them from the background. Sometimes I'll make them up. And that's my baseline for the character. Then the two other things that I look at are the intelligence and the wisdom, and then I combine that with the character traits, and kind of throw something together. First couple of sessions, I'll like throw a few things around and see what sticks, really. Like, is this character a little bit of a kleptomaniac? Is he a bit flamboyant? You know, the things that aren't really included in the personality traits. So it'll probably take me a couple of sessions to properly develop a player character. But first and foremost, I go with the personality traits as the basis.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, is that you kind of need to know who your character is, but you don't need to know everything. And you just need to know the basic.
Yeah.
And also,
I never bother with a complicated backstory. Never.
no, but it's like don't be scared to change things. And I think one of the things with that is it's really important to have an open conversation with your DM.
Oh yeah, totally. One of the things that I do as a player is that I have like a central principle where each of my characters. So Leon's is almost like a very hard set of like parameters. Like I've got the character traits that I've written down on my piece of paper, but I start with a central concept. So if I use the one that Leon knows, so Bollingdon Honker Frunk, the Rock Gnome Artificer from his Curse of Strahd game, his thing was always...
You can't see this, but I'm shaking my head in such disdain.
Bolly's thing was his central concept was advancement, like getting what he deserved. So all then that leans into the bonds and everything, the personality traits and the flaws being things for someone who's always trying to climb the social ladder, always trying to show off how good he is, because the secret is that he's made this because of his background of being a charlatan. He's made this background of being this noble family. Actually, he comes from a tiny fishing village, and his dad was a fisherman. He was nobody important, and like becoming like his dad is his biggest fear. So that central concept then grows and ripples outwards to like all these other things as well. So that's why he had like really high intelligence but could not really, had no survival skills, because he was like, I don't want that, that's my dad's stuff, like sort of thing. So that's what I do as a player. You were going to say something about DMing, like as NPCs and stuff, Leon. Is there something you do different then?
Is there something I do different? Not really. Like I said, I don't really spend too much time on the backstory. I am of the opinion that the characters' biggest stories are ahead of you, not behind you. So that's why I barely bother with the backstory and just go for a background and just have maybe 2-3 bullet points. But you know, it's very similar to my DM style. Sometimes I'll just make it up on the spot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Leon, you do love it when your players give you something to mess with, because when we did Dragon Heist, wasn't a bond, wasn't a flaw, was just a passing comment. It was like, my character has a little sister, and then we were fighting the big bad, and it was like, come out, and we were all like, no, and he went, Pocket, I have your sister.
Well, Leon, I think that's just a DM trait. If you give me anything I can weaponize, it's going in the chamber. That bullet's there, ready for when I want to like play Russian roulette with you. Because I'm not gonna lie, it will be fired.
Oh, I mean that damn straight. It's like I've just started playing a new game, and I gave the DM my backstory. And funnily enough, today we were talking about building the character and who he was. And we had a bit of downtime. And he went, I've got an idea. And he goaded me into doing some downtime, but it was a really high DC. And it was only
involved trying to get a bus off the edge of a cliff.
Kind of. Not far off it. And I was like, and then I was looking at I was looking at my character sheet, going, which if I don't know. And then I went, no, actually, no. He's goaded me, and this is exactly what the character would do. And I did it, and then he went, right. And then he sent this was on a group chat, and then he sent me a private message, and he went, this is from the backstory you gave me. And I mean, it was a simple backstory. I don't like going too deep into your backstory, because I like to give DMs rope to hang yourself with. and it was just like beautiful, brilliant.
Yeah, no, I think that as well, and I think that's a good point actually. That idea of you giving our DM stuff is a good point for us to now transition to explore that idea of getting into character, backstories, all that jazz, and have a look at things we do to get into character. So we know what getting into character is now, but what do we actually do is my question to get into character ourselves. Do we have any like methods or rituals or little fun bits that we do in order to get into character? Or we've kind of talked about it, but is there anything we physically do to get into character rather than write it down on our character sheet and stuff like that? We'll start with Leon. James, you got any like physical like little rituals or anything you do?
You're asking the wrong person this question, to be honest. We all know when I DM, I make stuff up on the fly. It's pretty much the same when I'm a player, to be honest. No, I like one of my favorite characters is called Bungo, and I played him when I actually played through Waterdeep Dragon Heist as a player. The only thing I really did to get into character was put on my little goblin voice, and that's pretty much it. But if you're looking for a ritual, I do not have any. I just make it up as I go.
No is also an answer. Like you can, but yeah, I get that. So I do think that you also, Leon, from my experience, I don't know about you, Dave, but Leon's quite good at voices. Like his a lot of his characters have a voice, even if a whole race of people have the same voice.
Like, he is totally.
Yeah. So I think one of your things, even though you wouldn't really call it a ritual, you do use your voice to get into character. So I think that's pretty cool. What about you, Dave? Have you got any like little rituals or little physical things?
Like I said before, I mean, if we're talking LARP, it's kind of mostly about your kit. Because when you start, you will have the basic kit. I suppose even in some ways, very much like D&D, it's like you have your starting equipment. But at LARP, you actually physically have to buy it with real money. But then it's like you'll start learning your character, and it will be a sword, or like I said with Grim, it's like I'll put the hat on, and I'll go, Grim, yeah. And then I'll put the kit on, and then I'll strap the sword on, and the minute I strap the sword on, I'm like, okay, I'm now Grim.
Yeah.
And you can't help but feel it. But I mean, even when you see the people, it's like you will see someone like a friend of mine called Joe. It's like, okay, I've seen Joe. I gave her a hug and gone, hiya Joe, how's things? Then an hour later, you'll see her, and I'll go, you alright, boss? And she'll go, yeah, I'm right. We might hardly talk to each other, but that's our characters, and there are reasons for it. But it's like, no, you get that kit on, it's like you suddenly become that character. When it comes to D&D, I like to read through my character sheet at least a day beforehand. I think I said it before, but I literally just read through.
Or just like the first session?
Sorry?
Is that like every session or just like the first one?
Oh no, not even just sessions. It's like I just like to look at my character sheet, and I like to know what I have, because it's like if you're level 5, you've picked certain things for certain reasons. And it's like, well, why did I take that as opposed to that? And I think that helps me, but then maybe that's just because I won't pick something just for the sake of it. You sit there and you go, what would my character do? You know, it's like, are you just going to be a thief? Or are you going to be a charlatan. You understand what I mean.
Yeah.
To me, sounds like the difference between somebody who's like playing D&D to win and is what's the word, min-maxing their character. What you're saying and what you do sounds like the thing that sets them apart from an actual role player. You're just here to play the role, and you have fun doing it that way. You want to play the character, whereas other people just want to play it to win.
Yeah.
100%. Because D&D, you can't win. At the end of the day, you can have small victory, but you're a party of adventurers who are going up against normally a big bad at the end of it. And it's like, yeah, do you know what? We might not all make it out alive.
I'd actually say the opposite. I would say in D&D you can't lose, because even if something ends in a TPK, you've probably had fun playing that TPK. The only way you can really lose D&D is by getting kicked off the table for being a dick.
I don't know. I feel as if I've always felt that D&D is the game you can't win, but you can lose, because of the fact that if you will always have fun, and it's the same with any game, video game, whatever. You will always have fun during the playthrough, but to lose progress and to lose that thing that you've invested a lot of your time on is a loss. Like, it's not. Like,
I've lost a lot of characters. I've had a lot of TPKs, and every single one of them was fun.
yeah,
It is a loss, but at the same time, it's a win, because that's how you develop as a character.
yeah, you went out in a blaze of glory. It's a really hard way to put it. Yeah.
It's just a personal thing.
No,
we're all going to have different opinions on this.
Yeah, we are. But I kind of agree with what you said, Leon. Sometimes it's survivor's guilt, because you're the one that's still alive and somebody else died. Whether it's because of your actions or not. But you go, oh shit, I got someone killed. And that in itself is character development. And part of what we're talking about getting into character, is the progression of your character.
Yeah. Like growth.
Brought back onto subject, Dave. Thank you.
That's a good point, actually, because like,
I try.
it is a good point, because like, we're talking about being in character and like character growth and stuff. And Leon brought up a good point about min-maxing, and like the fact that some people play for purely the mechanics of fighting or power fantasy, yada yada. And neither way is really wrong. But if you were to like go up to someone who's a known min-maxer or a known like want to win D&D, what would you ask? What would you tell them are the benefits of being in character, of being able to roleplay, being able to see your character growth and make effective decisions based on your character rather than the right like statistical value? What would you say are the benefits to that, Dave?
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I don't think there is actually a right answer to this. But, you know, if you're talking about the benefits, you get some great roleplay from it. I mean, if you're an absolute dick for some reason, and I don't suggest you do that. Definitely not down around the D&D table. But when you're at LARP, it's slightly more complicated, because your group's plans are not the same as another group's plans, and you can get embroiled in that. I mean, I had a great friend called Kate. She was playing a character called Mossy, and she nearly sort of screwed up a year-long plot in one night. And our group's boss turned around to me and they went, "If she doesn't stop, I'll kill her." And I went, "Leave it to me and I'll get it sorted." And I went and I spoke to her, and she backed off. And afterwards, when we were drinking as ourselves, she went, "What were you going to do?" And I went, "Oh, I was going to 100% kill you." And she went, "Really?" And I went, "Yeah." She went, "How are you going to do it?" And I went, "I was going to invite you to breakfast tomorrow morning. I was going to take you down to the lake."
Friends.
Oh, no, I literally said to her, "I'm going to take you down to the lake. We'll have some breakfast. We'll have a drink. We'll have a chat. And then I was going to kill you."
Imagine the rabbits, George.
Yeah, yes, pretty much. Yes, 100%. But it was like, everybody else was like, "I'll find her and I'll kill her." And I was like, no, it's fine. I'll. And then my friend Kate was like, "That's so lovely." And I was like, "I was going to kill your character." And she was like, "It's still so lovely."
Yeah.
Did you speak to her in character,
I
or did you speak to her as Dave?
I spoke to her in character first.
Yeah.
She knew none of this. But because she backed down, I spoke to her out of character later that night.
Fair enough. No, and that gave you a really good opportunity then, didn't it? Like a really good like story as well. Because that's what I often think about when I think about really diving into character and really getting into like the nitty gritty of it. It's the stories you tell, and it's not even. It gets to a point where it's not even your character anymore, is it? It's you. Do you remember that time when I did something or you did something? And
No,
I love that.
100%. But it's that your character is your baby at the start. But the minute you join a group, it's not yours anymore. It's everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Leon? Like, what do you think about? What do you think of the real major benefits of being in character versus just let's slaughter this dungeon and find all the coins and the bits and stuff?
I have way more fun in D&D when I'm role playing and everybody else around the table is role playing. It's the most enjoyable part for me. The combat is fun, but you know, if we were to put it on a scale to compare, for me the combat is probably a 4, and the role play when it's good, you know, that's a 10 for me. So that's why I like to get into character.
Yeah, I think it does enhance a game. It takes it from like this. Because sometimes when you get I think sometimes people get lost in like the minis and the maps, and I always think of it as like, I don't know, that's like the 2D level of the game. Like that's the flat bit of the game where like, oh, we've got to actually move miniatures. But when you get to the 3D level, which is like interacting as your character, reacting to things, being shocked about something, both as a character and as a player, that is almost like 100 times better. And yeah, sometimes I will admit I'm a really sore loser. Like I hate it when I just feel like I can't win. Like, and not in terms of like win D&D, but like no matter what I do, nothing's happening. That's remote, and it's not even just in terms of the positive, but in terms of anything, nothing's happening. Yeah. I'm not getting anywhere. Like, so, and that's one of the reasons I got frustrated. It's one of the reasons why I get frustrated with Strahd, the Curse of Strahd module, is because like all this, I try and do all this like role playing stuff and try and be nice, and I just feel like everything's out to get me. So I'm just like, fuck this, I'm done. And then
with you actually, I'm pretty much exactly the same. Like, if I know what the end goal of the campaign is at level 1, I just want to do that. You know, I don't care about that burning house filled with children.
Yeah,
I just want to get to Strahd and kill him. I don't care about all the side quests.
Yeah,
that's it. Go on.
We've seen that, Leon.
Yeah, that's why, if I'm in your game, you need to be careful and don't reveal the overarching plot right at the beginning, because I'm just going to beeline straight for that.
It's not even that. Like, sometimes knowing the end result is actually cool because it's how you get there. But like, just when things seem stuck and things seem belligerent, like, that's when I start like losing my rag, and that's the only time when I start actually breaking character. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because the only time I think this is what happened with Bolly, really, is like I just felt as if everything was belligerent. Nothing was, no matter what I did and no matter how much I tried to get into character, not just in terms of like the environment, but like the other players as well. Like, I felt a bit like I'm trying to do something here, and like, no, it doesn't feel reciprocated. How do you guys feel about reciprocation?
Everything you've just said, I can totally understand. And it's like, I'm probably on about 4 or 5 redundant Facebook posts with games I've played where Leon's been the DM. And we're all talking about the game. And this is one of the things why I think it's very important that you talk to your DM, you talk to the other players, because they help you know your character. Because sometimes someone will go, I mean, an example, I had a task when we were playing Dragon High, and it was Leon was like, right, if you hit him, you're going to kill him. Are you going for non-lethal damage or damage? And I was like, oh shit, no. And I was like, Pocket wouldn't do lethal damage. And then I was like, Pocket would do lethal damage. And then I think Leon was goading me slightly.
Remind me what this was?
It was the bounty. I can't remember what the character
Leon's good at goading people. Like, his horror story with Bolly is because he basically goaded me.
but he literally was like 6 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds, and I went, kill him. And that's not my character. But then I had to live with it. And when we came to the next session, the other players were like, what the fuck were you doing? And I had to take him in. And they were like, dead or alive? And I was like, yeah, well, one. But that wasn't the character I was playing.
That is interesting. Like, so what drove you to like break that bit of character then? Like, what was it that... Was it just Leon's goading, like, and the crunch, or was
I think it was a mixture of desperation of the situation and Leon's goading.
Fair enough.
In my defense, if you're deciding whether or not to kill somebody, and it's your turn, you literally only have 6 seconds. So I like to add that little bit of pressure in those kind of situations.
I am not putting any blame on you. Every decision I made was down to me, but it was you literally, you were like, no, come on, pick, and I went, kill him. And that wasn't what Pocket was, but it changed my character.
Was this the gunslinger, the drow gunslinger who you were hunting down?
No, because the drow gunslinger, I think, just basically nearly killed me. It was, we were, I think we were cleaning out sewers.
I have no idea.
Yes, I remember. Yes, you were cleaning out. You were with the Dung Sweepers Guild. You were asked to watch the Dung Sweepers Guild.
Yeah.
And there was this big bad bandit captain Harko, and you had been given a mission by your faction, the Lord's Alliance, to bring him in dead or alive. And he decided to come and attack you. and you won the fight, and you decided to kill him and take him in instead of taking him alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that those kind of things change your character for the long haul. And like I've had that recently in a game which I never thought would happen. In terms of like I'm playing a Pokemon game at the moment, and my character started off as just like the tough like delinquent guy at the back of the classroom, but he's like evolved into like the dad one. He is the dad character now. Like he cares about people, and like he's just like, go to fucking bed, like Batman. So yeah, I can see how.
Go to bed.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that wasn't how he was meant to go, but he just went that way because the DM put me in situations I had to make choices, and like sometimes I couldn't get into character quick enough, so I made a choice and it changed him forever. So yeah. So
yeah, but I also think that you kind of you need to be able to let the character change, because
change is natural.
We as people change. You know, it's like I hate to sort of bring it to a level that sort of a down, but it's like you can have an opinion that's like you do realize the rest of the world doesn't agree with you on this, and then you explain it to someone and they go, huh, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And that, children, is what we call character development.
Yes.
Here we go.
But
it's one of those things that takes your game from a 2D game to a 3-dimensional game, like you mentioned earlier, Addison.
Yeah.
I think it's great for those really personal character games that it sounds like the three of us really quite enjoy.
But is there ever a time where it's too much? Because there is tons of horror stories on like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, where the dreaded line comes out of, "It's what my character would do," and you're like,
yeah, you know my opinion on this. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. You know, when the player builds a fucking baker and they want to continue baking, you know, bring a damn adventurer to the party. It's kind of along the lines of that. I don't care if it's what your character would do if you're being a dick about it, to be honest.
that was going to be like the caveat to that question. Is it just them being a dick, or are they like really in character? And by the sounds of things, it's just.
I mean, to be honest, sometimes it is just them being a dick. But if it is an honest character choice, it's okay. It's like the story I told you before about Mossy when she nearly screwed up like a year's worth of plot development at LARP.
So was she being a dick intentionally, or did she genuinely not know in character or out of character?
She generally did not know. And then there were many people that were sent out to find her and go, "Oh no, you need to come back and talk to the boss because you're screwing things up." And I found her in the tavern, and I sat her down and had a chat with her. And it was one of those things. She had no idea what she was doing, but it was like, you really are f***ing up right now. And if you're gonna put this in the same context as D&D, this is why I always say, talk to your DM, talk to your other players, because they will see things that you don't realize you're doing.
I agree with that. That you should definitely talk to the other players, because one of the things that I hate is when people go, "It's what my character would do," knowing the implications it will have on 4 different people, as if that wouldn't change their mind. So say like a standard party size is 5, for example. Like knowing the context of a decision will always change how you act. I don't care how heartless you pretend to be. Like it's the old there are 2 boats full of people and you can only fix one or whatever. Like your mind changes depending on the effects you're going to have on the groups of people. So when people are like, I go and headbutt the king, I'm like, okay, why? like, because it's what my character would do. He doesn't obey authority. I'm like, and then I'll look at their character and be like, "You're a fucking paladin. Like, what the fuck?" Like, and then, at that point, I'm like, "No, you're just kind of being a knobber. Like, stop being a shit house."
I always it's slightly different when you play D&D because it immediately affects people around you. When you're at LARP, I always remember one time, one of my friends was sitting in the tavern one night, and he was talking about the queen of one of the other factions, and he made a comment going, "Well, I would." And the table next to us literally stood up and went, "Beg your pardon?" Managed to calm it down, but the next morning he was told, "You have been invited, in inverted commas, to the camp to speak with the queen."
To give her the old rodding. No, I'm joking.
So we walked over, and on the way over there he was like, "Shit, what do I do?" And I mean, this was his first event.
It was at that moment he realised he fucked up.
Because it's slightly different in D&D. If the DM turns around and goes, "Do you actually say that?" You can go, "No."
Yeah, there's like a
Get out clause.
Yeah. Control Z. Control Z. Undo.
Is Dave saying that or is Pocket saying that?
Yeah, exactly. And at LARP, you don't have that opportunity because if you're not in your tent or in an out of character area,
you literally have the Gestapo hunting you down.
You said it.
Yeah.
And we walked over there, and I was chatting to him all the way, and he went, "What do I do?" And I went, "Well, you apologise, but the one thing you don't do, kneel." And he went, "Why?" I went, "Wolves do not kneel." And we got there, and she went, "Kneel before me." And he went, "Wolves do not kneel, but I will sit."
Man, I really want to play LARP, seriously.
I'm kind of like more so these factions are like predetermined, or do you form them yourself, or
There are predetermined factions. There are group within the factions, and if you have enough players to meet the requirement, you can make your own group.
And I'm guessing like there's principles to each group, like each group has its own like bylaws and stuff and like characteristics. That's so cool.
Can I make a suggestion before we get too off track of the topic of this episode?
Yeah.
Season 2, we need to get both Alex and Dave on the podcast and do a full LARP episode.
Definitely.
Because this is just fascinating me.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. So, but
and we both LARP at different groups, although we do know people that cross between. Yeah,
it's a huge community, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've seen, like on your Facebook when it suggests friends. Like, I have friends in common with Dave that Dave knows through LARP, but I've never met Dave. It's huge. It's like D&D. It's one of those things that is like stealthily growing, and at one point it's just going to be one of those in-your-face things like D&D has become. Yeah,
definitely. And like, do you think so? Getting back on topic, do you think your LARP skills? Do you think your LARP skills cross over then into D&D, or do you think that they are two definitively different things?
Oh no, they 100% cross over.
Cool.
But the difference is, you kind of have to be two different mindsets.
It's like the framework you're in, isn't it? Is different. Like
yeah,
that makes sense.
I mean, it's like if I'm at LARP, I put my kit on and I go, right, I am Grim. I sit there like me and Leon used to play on Tuesdays, and it's like on Monday I go onto the game and I'd read through my character sheet and go, right, okay, yep. And actually, do you know what? This is one thing I didn't mention earlier that I've just suddenly realised. It's like at work, I listen to a lot of podcasts. And the day before the day of a game, I only listen to D&D podcasts. And it's that whole thing of kind of like, right, so Tuesday, I will listen to D&D podcast. Friday, I will listen to D&D podcast because it's like, I want to, right, okay, mindset. And it gets me into the mindset.
Yeah.
I used to do that as well. When I was DMing Curse of Strahd, that was a IRL game. I would listen to the Adventure Zone because they did a fantastic Strahd campaign, and that really got me into the mindset and helped me set the tone for those games. So that works as a DM as well. It's a really good tip, really good thing to do.
Yeah, I think I dive into the books and stuff a bit before games when I'm DMing, and as a player, I think I take notes in different ways, or and I might make notes stuff on my character sheet, and then I review those and then make decisions.
Yeah, notes are always good.
Yeah. So we've told a lot of stories. So the story time segment, unless there's something that you really want to get off your chest, I think we could, because we've told lots of stories. You've told stories about Mossy, I've told stories about Bolly, Leon's told some stories about his voices and stuff and what he does, and Bungo. Bungo.
Yeah, Bungo kill the troll.
I have an NPC called Bungo who is a Azamar cleric, which is kind of weird that we both have those.
Mine's a goblin. Before we move on to the next segment, Dave, you have to do a sentence or two in your what's the character's name? Oh God, Thor. He's the big rock person. Korg. Yeah, you have to do your Korg accent.
No, man, I really don't want to today because I'm really not feeling it. So you can, hey, piss off, ghost.
Love it.
I really love that. So, Dave, you've given us some awesome tips, and we've discussed some cool things that we hope will be useful for people to help them increase their role-playing proficiency, getting into character, being in character, maybe thinking about those LARP things that you've mentioned and stuff as well. And we will definitely do just a LARP episode at some point and talk about that with you and Alex. But we would like to invite you to partake in our penultimate segment, which is the deck of many questions. Are you good, Dave? Do you want to do it, or?
Oh, this is the bit I was most excited about.
Okay, so Leon's going to hopefully have some dice ready.
Yep, ready to go. All right, let's give it a quick roll.
I'll introduce it properly. So, as Leon's giving great introductions, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the deck of many things, the pod of many things, the deck of many questions, the pod of many things, community suggested questions that we randomly select using dice rolls. And if you wish to stack the deck for or against us, get in touch on any of our social media and we'll shout you out as we ask your question. So the guest always goes first. So I think there's enough time for Dave, me and Leon, isn't there, Leon?
Yeah, plenty of time for all three of us to do one this week.
Plenty of time for all three of us to do one this week. So, Dave, if you would like to go first. Leon, what is the question?
That's question number 22.
Question number 22 is actually from r/DM Academy, as I was searching through for that
question.
So, a Reddit question.
I don't think we've had this one before.
No. So, is there such thing as a dumb question for a player to ask a DM? Is there such thing as a dumb question for a player to ask a DM? Dave?
No.
Take it away.
No. Only dumb answers.
Only dumb answers. Care to explain why?
Because I don't think any question is dumb. It's generally a question you ask your DM is, can I do this? And the DM should go, you can try.
Yep, that's true.
It might not work, but that's not the DM's place to tell you that until you try it.
Yeah.
I scale this sheer cliff. You can certainly try. Make an athletics roll.
Yeah, what was that?
The
2
DC
levels.
is 57.
Yeah, 2 levels of exhaustion by the time I got to the top of it. Thank you, Leon.
Yeah. No. Well, give us an example of a dumb answer then. What would you say is a dumb answer?
No.
No. Yeah. I'll give you that. No, I'll give you that.
No, it's like, why can't you try it? I mean, if the DM turns around and goes, well, actually, it's really impractical that we can try it, fair enough. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, go on, give it a go.
Fair enough. Leon, odds or evens? I'll let you choose this time because I always choose.
Evens, and I have rolled a 2. So I'll be going next.
Roll the question.
Okay, that is 27.
27. I've had this question, but I don't think you've had it. So
Hit me.
Question 27 is from Paige, and she asks you, what makes a good player in your opinion? What makes a good player in your opinion, Leon?
Okay, what makes a good player? I think the thing that makes a good player is them not being a bad player. As long as they're not being a dick at the table, as long as they are not pissing people off, as long as they are willing to learn and get involved, I would consider them a good player. You know, all players are different. Everybody wants something different out of the game. It's not an exciting answer, but that's the answer I've given.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I'm sure Dave agrees with that. Wheaton's first law of the internet.
Yep, no, definitely.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as they're not a dick, it's fine.
Let's be honest. The rule of thumb is don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And I when I gave that answer, mine was pretty much don't be a dick and listen to people. Yeah. So to finish off, to round off, Leon, what would you?
You have number 9.
Number 9. I've already had this question because it's the party of 4 question.
Okay, let me roll again. That is 34.
34. Out of the I don't have much context for this, but it says out of the three of us, who do I think will be the best player? Out of the 3 of us on the podcast today, who do I think would be the best player?
I think you have to go with you.
I don't know, because I don't think that some people say I make obnoxious characters, and I really don't mean to. So I actually don't think I'm the best player because I'm always slightly annoying, if not a bit charming. But I think based on what I know of Leon and based on what you've said, Dave, I think it would be very interesting to play alongside the pair of you. But if I had to pick one, I would say Dave, because I don't think Leon likes playing as much.
I would agree with that assertion.
I don't think I can see Leon getting frustrated with playing.
I will accept the compliment, but I also think Leon's better than me. But no. Only because
Here we go.
No, only because I can't help it. I become the nice person, and I become the more often than not face of the group. Leon's better at just going, No, this is my character's goal, and I'm sticking to it. So I would say Leon.
Fair enough. I say you.
Personally, I would say Dave, and I would say choosing me is the wrong answer.
Yeah, I could.
Thank you. I do appreciate the compliment.
From what I know of Leon, and just in life, and his impulsiveness and stuff like that, I can see him getting really frustrated with, like, say, a DM's decision or something, and like then going, okay, so I do this, and like everybody going, ooh, like, and he's like, because the
time I really get frustrated with a DM is like if I really want to do something that's like way out there, and the DM doesn't let me do it. That's the only real time I get frustrated with the DM.
Yeah. So
I
yeah.
mean, at least let me try. It's like Dave said with his question. At least let them try.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas I can imagine that if you can naturally fall into the role of party face, because I'm a really bad party face as well. I think I ended up being party face once, and I was not good at it because I was like, oh yeah, of course I take you at your word, because I kept also failing all my insight checks, so I just ended up getting us into lots of trouble because of the fact that I couldn't tell he was lying to me. It was a bad time all around. But yeah, that has been the deck of many questions. Remember, if you want to stack the deck for us or against us, contact us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, whatever platform of choice. If we've got it, there's usually some sort of comment or DM function. Let us know, and we will add it to our list and shout you out as the question asker. In terms of our little bullet points for Dave's episode, that's it. So Dave, is there anything you would like to end with? Anything you'd like to shout out?
I think I'll end with one little piece of advice, and I did say it earlier, but if you're at a gaming table, talk to your DM. Talk to the other players. If you know and trust them, they're never going to steer you wrong.
I like that. That's really wholesome. I feel kind of uplifted after hearing that. Thank you so much for being here with us, Dave. It's been
great. Thank you.
It's been a bit of a slog trying to get everything working, but all in all, some great conversation, and we will have you back to talk about LARP, because mine and Leon's curiosity has been piqued, and until it's satiated, I don't think I'll stop thinking about it. So yeah.
I just wanted an excuse to beat up Addison in real life.
This is true. To be honest though,
in these times, that's very, very true.
Do you know who I'd be most scared of at LARP? Jenny, my wife, would be scary, especially if she could get a warhammer, as a weapon. I don't think you'd be able to stop her. I genuinely think she would go full dwarf barbarian on us and ah. So yeah, no.
Anderson. Sorry, yeah. I have to stop you there. My wife is also called Jen.
Oh.
And she has been to LARP with me.
Oh.
Only twice. Because she's this is really not my thing. And on her first event, they named her Den Mother.
Fair enough. Sue me.
No. Just because she was exactly what you're worried about. She was so scary.
Fair enough. All right then, Leon, will you do us the favour? Do us the solid of telling people where they can find us on the internet, and we'll wrap up.
You can find us on Instagram, which is at the Pod O Many Things. It's also the Pod O Many Things for Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter at Pod O Many Things. Again, we still can't afford that fucking F.
Because someone's got it. They won't let us have it. They've not posted in years. But also you can find us on things like you going there? Sorry.
You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Google Podcasts. Hopefully sometime soon you can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're still waiting for approval. It's been a few weeks now. It says it only takes 28 days, but it's been longer than that. Eventually, yeah, we'll get there eventually. But anyway, thank you, Dave, for coming on. Can't wait to speak to you on another episode in the future. And yeah, back over to you to take us out, Addison.
Well, Dave, again, thanks, and to all you listening at home, wherever you are, whenever you are, I hope you chilled out with us. I hope you had a good time, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.